Hello, boys and girls. Miss Catazone again here with our good old trusty sidekick, DK Donkey Kong. So we are going to be reading a story, and then we are going to be continue to talk about author's purpose. And just a reminder, author's purpose is as easy as pie. There are 3 ways or 3 reasons authors write something: to persuade, which means to convince; to inform, which means to teach you something; and to entertain means to tell you a story, make you laugh, make you have feeling. All right, so P-I-E. P stands for persuade, which means, if you said convince, good job. I means that the author is informing you, which means to teach and information. Nice job. And E means entertain, which means to make you have feeling, make you laugh, make you cry, tell you a story. So, as we are reading this story, I want you to think about what is the main purpose of this story. Okay, to persuade, inform, entertain. And then we're going to say the main idea of the story, and then 2 details that tell us that it's trying to either persuade, inform, or entertain us. And our story is A Giraffe and a Half. This is one of my favorite books that I used to read all the time growing up. If you had a giraffe and he stretched another half, you would have a giraffe and a half. If he put on a hat and inside lived a rat, you would have a giraffe and a half with a rat in his hat. If you dressed him in a suit and he looked very cute, you would have a giraffe and a half with a rat in his hat looking cute in a suit. If you glued a rose to the tip of his nose, you would have a giraffe and a half with a rat in his hat looking cute in a suit with a rose on his nose. If a bumbly old bee stung him right on the knee, you would have a giraffe and a half with a rat in his hat looking cute in a suit with a rose on his nose and a bee on his knee. Whew, there's a lot of rhyming words in here. See if you can start finding them as I read. If he put on a shoe and then stepped in some glue, you would have a giraffe and a half with a rat in his hat looking cute in a suit with a rose on his nose and a bee on his knee and some glue on his shoe. If you gave him a flute and he played tooty-toot, you would have a giraffe and a half with a rat in his hat looking cute in a suit with a rose on his nose and a bee on his knee and some glue on his shoe playing toot on a flute. If he used the chair to comb his hair, you would have a giraffe and a half with a rat in his hat looking cute in a suit with a rose on his nose and a bee on his knee and some glue on his shoe playing toot on a flute with the chair in his hair. Wow, there's a lot of rhyming words. It's like a little tongue twister. If he tripped on a snake who was eating some cake, you would have a giraffe and a half with a rat in his hat looking cute in a suit with a rose on his nose and a bee on his knee and some glue on his shoe playing toot on a flute with a chair in his hair and a snake eating cake. If he found an old trunk and inside was a skunk, you would have a giraffe and a half with a rat in his hat looking cute in a suit with a rose on his nose and a bee on his knee and some glue on his shoe playing toot on a flute with a chair in his hair, and a snake eating cake and a skunk in a trunk. If you met a fat dragon who sat in a wagon, you would have a giraffe and a half with a rat in his hat looking cute in a suit with a rose on his nose and a bee on his knee and some glue on his shoe playing toot on a flute with a chair in his hair and a snake eating cake and a skunk in a trunk and a dragon in a wagon. If he jumped on a bike and rode over a spike, you would have a giraffe and a half with a rat in his hat looking cute in a suit with a rose on his nose and a bee on his knee and some glue on his shoe playing toot on a flute with a chair in his hair and a snake eating cake and a skunk in a trunk and a dragon in a wagon and a spike in his bike. If a blubbery whale got a hold of his tail, you would have a giraffe and a half with a rat in his hat looking cute in a suit with a rose on his nose and a bee on his knee and some glue on his shoe playing toot on a flute with a chair in his hair and a snake eating cake and a skunk in a trunk and a dragon in a wagon and a spike in his bike and a whale on his tail. If he fell in a hole that was dug by a mole, You would have a giraffe and a half with a rat in his hat, looking cute in his suit, with a rose on his nose and a bee on his knee and some glue on his shoe, playing toot on a flute with a chair in his hair and a snake eating cake and a skunk in a trunk and a dragon in a wagon and a spike in his bike and a whale on his tail in a hole with a mole. But if you brought him a pole to climb out of the hole, and the whale left his tail and went out for the mail, and he gave the spike bike to a scout on a hike, and he left the fat dragon 'cause wagon was a sagging. And he gave his chair to a tired old bear, and he traded the flute to a bird with some fruit. And he told that old snake to go jump in the lake, and a man who bought junk bought the skunk with the skunk. And he gave the rose to a girl he chose, while the bee on his knee flew away with a flea. And he put the shoe with the glue on you, and that silly old rat ran away with his hat. And he put his suit in the laundry chute, and he shrank another half. You would have a giraffe. Again, Shel Silverstein. He's such a great author. He has a lot of great poetry too that I'll read to you at some point. Okay, so author's purpose, talking again. Author's purpose as easy as, you know it? It's as easy as pie. So why did the author write this? I'm sure you know, because of all the rhyming and the made up and the story they told. It is to entertain, which means to make you laugh and to tell you a story. So it means to entertain. And what are they entertaining you about? What are they telling you? They're entertaining you about a giraffe, right? A giraffe and a half. And what are some of the details within the story that they taught you? I know you probably know a lot of them. Maybe you can do some of the rhyming ones. So we could say the giraffe stretched half. Another detail is that he balanced a rose on his, that's right, on his nose. What about, what was in the trunk? What rhymes with trunk? They'll figure it out. There was a skunk in the trunk. What about the rat? What did he wear? You're right, the rat wore a rhyming word, hat. What about the bike? What happened to the bike? He was riding it and it got a, rhymes with bike, spike. Great job, boys and girls. Awesome work. I'll see you next time.